Serious Reddit, what was the scariest place you have ever been to? Reconstructed subway which exploded years ago in Daegu, Korea. They memorialized the explosion on site. Scorched walls. Melted people's items. Burnt phone booths and all. But the scariest was the scorched walls with writings and handprints of the people that were trapped during the explosion. This subway is one of the busiest stations even today due to being the city's downtown area. Edit. No, it's not the sandwich shop. It's a train station underground. Lol. Edit 2. Sorry, it was arson, not explosion. I thought it was the explosion, but as the comments said, it was an arson case. But damn. That station has been destroyed several times. Still the busiest station today. Probably a cave. Wriggling through a lemon drop as they called it, where you go feet first down a skinny ass tunnel and have to wriggle down about 12 feet before you drop into a chamber below. About halfway my shoulders got stuck and it took like 5 excruciating minutes to get loose. I don't know why I went spelunking. I'm claustrophobic. Edit. To answer a few common questions. 1. I got out through the exit at the bottom of the cave. The entrance was uphill, so you had to turn back or go through the lemon drop to get out. 2. I had kinda forgotten I'm claustrophobic. Or I guess it's better to say my claustrophobia improved and I didn't really feel the walls closing in until they were literally squeezing me from all sides. 3. I don't know why I went in there. It was a free event and I was probably pretty high and bored at the time. An abandoned set of buildings that were part of a former college campus next to an abandoned military airfield. There was a lot to explore, but it definitely gave off an unsettling vibe. There was even an enterable hangar that had a bunch of torn gas masks lying on a pile in the middle of it. The masks were probably purposefully destroyed to prevent their use. Masks wear out, especially when left unattended in an abandoned facility. I don't know why the duck this happened, but by the end of it, you'll understand when I say my parents aren't known for making the best decisions. So, when I was 9 or 10, my dad took me to this house that had been basically destroyed by fire. I don't remember exactly whether my mother was there or she just okayed this. They were not together, ever. There were other adults involved in this too. I think my uncle and one of my dad's buddies. But I was the only kid. Anyway, we went into this fire destroyed house to look for shit that could be salvaged. We found very little and really that should have been nothing at all. All I really recall anymore was an 8-track tape that had been warped just enough by the fire to play 2 songs at once in spots. So there's Lil Kid Me, After Dark, picking my way through this ducking, burnt house full of debris, and I get into one room and look in what had been the closet and there's this shag rug looking thing there. Which was when my dad helpfully told me that the daughter of the house had run back inside the fire to try to save the family dog and died in the closet with her arms wrapped around the animal. And that wasn't a rug, but the remains of the dog's body. And then I was encouraged to look through this dead kid's toys to see if anything was in good enough condition for me to take home. I've been afraid of dying in a fire ever since. I had just crossed over the border into China from Kazakhstan for some reason. My buddy and I made it a plan to hit as many haunted houses as we could. For whatever reason, there were plenty on our route from Moscow to Delhi. We found out about one in Urumqi and decided to go. As we went down these dank stairs into what seemed like once was part of an underground system, everything just felt wrong. The person there had us sit in these gross chairs in front of this odd raised platform. Out of nowhere, this girl, and I mean no more than 14, comes out in a skimpy leopard print outfit with a snake. We are getting TFO vibes, but are the only ones there, and the dude or dudes running the place are right behind us. So, we proceed to watch this girl pop the snake's head into her mouth and swing it around like a helicopter. After the show they tried to guide us to these rooms with the grossest mattresses on the planet on the ground. It was really sad, creepy, and disgusting. All we could do is shove some Arambi in the guy's hand and run out. Got stuck in my car in a freezing step during a really bad snowstorm at -45 degrees Celsius. The snow was real deep and my car was stuck so badly it would take a truck to pull it out. Cell phone didn't work. Maps didn't work. For those who don't know, once the engine dies you have about 12 hours before you freeze to death. The worst thing is that the snow was so deep and the storm was so bad they probably wouldn't have found me until spring. I have been in a bunch of life-threatening situations in my lifetime. But duck, nothing is as scary as freezing to death in the middle of nowhere. Thankfully, another guy saw me. He happened to be driving a real pumped up Land Cruiser, all geared up and shitty. He gave me a real confused look once he realized I was driving a Jaguar Z. Probably the last ducking car you want to drive there. It would have been okay if I stayed on the road, I guess. But I couldn't see because of the storm and wandered about 50 meters off road. He pulled me out and led me for 2 hours at 40 kilometers an hour. Given he could easily do 120 thanks to his car. My brother went to visit my uncle in Papua New Guinea. He stayed the night in Port Moresby, one of the most dangerous cities in the world. His escort was a friend of my uncle's, an Australian federal police officer, that's FBI equivalent, and the hotel had armed guards at the gate, the front door, the desk and hallway to his room. From memory, the room was also protected, solid doors and stuff, with a panic room and an escape route, should the main room be breached. So yeah, I'd say that would be a mite scary. I'm an over-the-road truck driver. I've been to shitty cities all too often. And it still makes me freak just a bit lol. Although I know what to do if someone tries to rob me. Just get out the truck and hand over the keys. This shit ain't worth my life. The Strid at Bolton Abbey link. youtube.com/watch v=mcsumwp02t8 and index equals 909 and list equals llktmhcmy2zmn1p_who is viewer. It's not too far from where I used to live, so I decided to go there once. It's the most unazuming thing you can imagine, but knowing how dangerous it is just makes it seem ominous. Especially when you consider how many people it may have killed and how few people ever wash up. I didn't go within 10 feet of the thing. For anyone who doesn't want to click the link, although it's Tom Scott. So you really should. The Strid is what happens when a fast flowing river basically turns on its side, putting a vast amount of water through a very slim, very deep, very dark groove in the ground. It looks calm on the surface, but if you fall in, you are royally ducked. There's a claim that it might be the most dangerous stretch of water in the world, and I can readily believe it. Close bracket. A Greyhound station in Buffalo, New York in the middle of the night. I thought for sure I was going to get mugged. Last year I lived in a suburb in Gifu Prefecture. Down the street was a broken down old house and my friend and I decided to do a photo shoot there one night because an old broken Japanese house looked pretty cool. When I say broken down, I mean entire walls were missing and exposing the inside. Floors were broken and lots of old junk everywhere. Pipes and beams were exposed and there were crates of old belongings. There was one crate though that had hundreds of photos of the same girl as a child to adulthood, black and white, developed from film. It was always just her and no one else in the photo. I thought it was strange that the old owners could just leave photos of this girl behind. The more I looked at them, I noticed she didn't seem happy in a lot of them. I got really uncomfortable, and so my friend and I left and abandoned the photo shoot. I think she might have been a victim of something and that's why the photos were left behind in a half-destroyed house. Got really freaked out that night. Edit. To all the other expats in the Gifu area, the house got torn down and became an empty lot a few months later. Where I lived in Asia, Taiwan, people can be very superstitious about leaving things that might be contaminated with bad luck. So maybe they just abandoned the pictures without a crazy backstory, or she died in the fire, which would be sad, kinda cool but off-putting to be in a half burned down house with everything left in it. One village's story link. World abandoned. com/Sanzipod City. We taught English in Japan, Fujinomiya, for a few years. The house we lived in was abandoned by the woman after her husband died. They left all their belongings, old wedding gifts, wedding kimono, zabutons, all that stuff. It got shoved into one room and the lady rented the house out to the private English school. It was freaky to live there and have to walk past the room filled to the ceiling with all their old belongings. We were on our way to Flagstaff as for the Overland Expo and planned to camp near there the night before it started since we were on a longer overland trip. It was this place in the woods that was recommended by others who were there before. It all seemed fine and we set up camp. At night when we brushed our teeth we noticed there were animal skulls hanging in the trees all around us. It was super scary. We packed up and spent the night in a hotel. Catacombs in Sicily. Yuck, great parenting. Let's bring a 6-year-old to a place where every light shines on a dead body and everything else is darkness. I got abandoned in a care home at 11 years old in a foreign country. That shit was scary. Edit. More info in the comments. Feel free to ask any questions. I'm pretty open about it. The old graveyard of Arlagues in the Herald, France. I was camping in the neighborhood and we visited the village. Old and beautiful. We were young and inquisitive and climbed the wall around an old graveyard. What we found were 19th century graves, often in little grave houses. But grave robbers had yanked the lead coffins out of the houses and everywhere were opened coffins with skeletons. It was actually very sad to behold. There were 5 of us, and without a warning we all ran to the wall and jumped back to the world of the living. We all had a feeling we should not stay there a second longer. We could not explain it. Just an overwhelming feeling of terror. About 15 years later I paced that cemetery on the back of motorbike and just looked through a crack in the wall. I was struck with that same feeling. It is not a good place. I was in a small town in Laos high on magic mushrooms when the power went off in the full town. Local street dogs took the opportunity to fight it out. It was ducking terrifying. Pennington Hollow, holla to the locals, in Ashe County, North Carolina. I don't know if it's still this way today, but back in the 90s everyone who lived there was named Pennington. And you didn't go there unless your name was Pennington. The cops didn't even go there. Think the movie Deliverance. There was a whole classroom in my high school for the special Pennington kids. I once accidentally drove my little 49cc scooter into Pennington Hollow when exploring random back roads. Once I realized where I was I turned off my engine and went into bicycle mode and noped the duck out of there. An Airbnb in Barcelona. I've spent quite a while in Spain, speak Spanish, and have visited Barcelona multiple times. I've also used Airbnb multiple times and know what to check for. 2 friends and I, all 20 SF, picked an Airbnb with several favorable ratings in a good neighborhood. One of the ones that's a room in someone's apartment. Show up, and the 2 guys look nothing like the picture, but are very hospitable. So we went inside. They showed us around. And the apartment looked like the photos. Then they showed us the room and let us be. We opened the door to the room and it's nothing like the photos. It's essentially a closet. 3 dirty twin mattresses on the floor with no pillows and blankets covered in old food. Furthermore, the door to the room has no interior lock on it, but it did have an exterior lock. It's at this point that we also realize they never gave us a key to the apartment. We took pictures of everything and waited until we heard them leave the apartment and watched them from the window until they were out of sight. We gathered our packs and sprinted out of there with no plans on where to go, just calling random hostels until we found one that had room. But it was on the other side of the city and the metro had closed for the night, so we walked an hour and a half. Thankfully the hostel was lovely and Airbnb refunded us and removed the listing, but were convinced it was a human trafficking setup. Some hotel Atlanta. My mom and I were traveling to rescue my brother from an abusive situation and she picked a cheap hotel outside the city. It was clear the type of people who came there, but figured it wasn't a problem. As we got to sleep someone started banging on the door screaming how we owed them money. My mom called front desk for security who came and removed that guy. The rest of the night we saw shadows come back and forth outside the window and they would just be standing there. Eventually at 4 in the morning the banging came back. My mom called security and had them escort us to our truck because she refused to deal with it any longer. I've been to Mexico a couple times for business trips. Majority of the time it's awesome. But I've been in some dangerous situations. We usually have someone who worked for us waiting at the airport to transport us anywhere for the weekend. Since I didn't speak much Spanish and didn't know my way, it was late at night and we just left one of our resorts. After maybe 20 minutes of driving I was told to hide my face by the driver. It felt like something from a movie. All he told me was to not show I was American. I'm pretty sure cartels camp out near where we went and wait to find someone American since they're most vulnerable. To this day I have no idea if he was ducking with me, but it was one of the scariest moments ever. Like this video and this good boy will be your mailman forever. We are Redditation, and we Redditate every day. If you are new to the channel, you can subscribe. Until then, check another video. Or don't. Either way, have a wonderful day you magnificent people.